What the Farage time now, and nestled on the stunning Cornish coastline, the tourist hotspot of New Quay became the latest front line of migrant hotel clashes yesterday, as violent confrontations saw concerned locals attacked by hard-left counter-protesters who chanted Antifa from behind their sinister face coverings. Now, locals had gathered to protest against the arrival of almost 200 asylum seekers in New Quay's Beresford Hotel, but faced violent resistance from up to 150 supposed anti-fascists who were caught on film assaulting a woman for daring to challenge the placement of migrants in her own community. Unbelievable. While violence is certainly nothing new from the aggressive Antifa movement, this is the latest in a string of recent examples where local communities with genuine concerns over immigration have been silenced by the militant left. Well, I'm delighted to say Nigel Farage is with me now. And Nigel, the public have just lost patience, haven't they?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's happening here. It's happening in Ireland, too, in a much bigger degree than here. This was the second protest that's taken place outside this hotel in New Quay. It was prompted, this particular one, by a man who appeared in Bodmin Magistrates Court, a Moldovan, on a charge of rape. And that will then go to Truro, to the main, Crown Court in Cornwall. It turns out this man from Moldova wasn't actually from the Beresford Hotel, from another address. We don't know his status. But what this reflects, and I saw this with people in Knowsley, up in Liverpool and elsewhere, is there is a genuine sense of fear. And let me tell you why. There are very, very large numbers of young men who come from cultures in which women, particularly young women, aren't even second-class citizens. You think I'm wrong? Have a look at Malmo. Have a look at Stockholm. See what has happened. The way women are treated in Middle Eastern countries, for example, is something we find repugnant here. It's just as simple as that. And so what you're seeing with the protests are parents, uncles, aunts, grandparents, genuinely concerned about their communities. And for this violent mob to come along and to accuse the other side of being fascist when they're the ones behaving in classic fascistic manner, shouting down free speech, wearing their balaclavas. I mean, this is, let's face up to this, this refugees welcome movement is a very, very dangerous movement.
Well, Nigel, especially when we talk about this next story. An Iranian man jailed for raping his female London lodger as she slept has actually won the right to stay here in the UK amidst fears he could face persecution if he returned to Iran. So we don't know this bloke's name. He's been appealing against the decision to deport him since it was made back in 2005, Nigel, with Judge John Keith finally accepting his appeal on the basis that he could be at risk if he returned to Iran. Yep, so, this is why we're so worried, isn't it, Nigel? It's a joke.
Oh, absolutely. And all of this, as you and I are speaking now, the debate in the House of Commons on the illegal immigration bill is coming to an end. And we all focus on the ECHR. We all focus on the European Convention on Human Rights and its associated court in Strasbourg. Actually, there's as big a problem with the UK judiciary. All the while, that Human Rights Act that Blair brought in 1998, which incorporated the convention and went further, all the while British judges can rely on that, we will not solve this problem.
And so meanwhile, sorry, you go.
Yeah. I mean, look, so it's all well and good. Suella Braverman, Rishi Sunak, talking tough on all these things. And they're talking even tougher than Priti Patel did. But don't think this is just about leaving ECHR. We have to remove from UK liberal judges the the tools that they can use. I mean, it took us 10 years to get Abu Hamza out of the country. 10 years. And now this Iranian gets to stay. So some of this problem rests here at home. And the government is going to need to be much, much more clear-sighted on the solutions.
At the same time as talking tough, Nigel, we learn that Sunak is considering a deal with the UN Refugee Agency that could see 20,000 migrants offered a safe and legal route into Britain. This is apparently to appease wets on the Tory backbenches. What do you make of it?
Just for people to get a sort of handle on this, we've allowed 500,000 refugees in since 2015. I repeat, 500,000 since 2015. Please do not say that we are some nasty, horrible country that excludes everybody. People have poured in from Hong Kong, they still are at 50,000 a year, from Afghanistan, from Ukraine, from Syria. I mean, we've more than done our bit. And the false argument that Europe accepts more, well, that's because they allowed the Mediterranean to become absolutely open waters for anyone that set foot on EU soil. I was there in 2015, Dan. I warned this policy was an error. I then saw us compounding it in our country. We have been more than generous. The fact that MPs are more focused on so-called safe and legal routes than dealing with people coming here illegally tells you where Parliament is. And by the way, who are these safe and legal routes open to? Is it the 110 million? Is it the 110 million that the UNHCR say are displaced? Is it the billions from 121 countries that treat homosexuality as effectively being criminal? Is it another 5 billion who earn less than $5 a day? I mean, what are we talking about here? Doesn't someone have to say, throughout our history, our nature, our culture, we've always been generous to those in fear of their lives, but we cannot go on taking numbers like this. We mustn't go on taking numbers like this because it's unfair to those that are living here. And I will not abide this ridiculous refrain that somehow we should be compared, as Lineker did, to 1930s Germany. All of this is entirely false. What it needs is the Conservatives to stand up to this narrative properly, for the liberals, the real liberals, to recognise the rights and wrongs, actually, of what refugee status is, and to confine it to those that genuinely are. And the problem I see is moral cowardice. The fact we have a whole wing of the Conservative Party more worried about safe and legal routes than sorting out the problem tells me that the Conservative Party is split. Tells me that Westminster is more out of touch with the British public than on any issue I've seen in my lifetime, and fills me with a sense of foreboding that Sunak won't sort it out. I hope I'm wrong.